this is I was trying to think, we've been doing these virtual programs now since May of 2020. And last year in July, we didn't do a fair program because the fair was very minimized. So we didn't want to make people too sad that they were missing it, because we know people couldn't a lot of people couldn't go out there last year. So we're happy that that this year it's more of a normal fair and people can go out there. So we thought that this Wednesday would be a perfect time to do a fair history program, because the fair opens this Friday. Hope you guys, a lot of you will be out there. We'll have an exhibit in the Mercantile building, and we wanted to take this opportunity to go through our archives and share some of the history that we have with everybody. And let you guys talk a little bit about your fair memories. So, there'll be opportunities for you guys to jump in and talk about things that you remember out of the fair. As all with our other programs, this one is being recorded, and it will be shared later on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel. And we hope that people can add in more information as they watch it later. We found that the one that we had last month about the closing of the mall has been our most viewed video so far, and we've got a lot of comments and extra information afterwards that people have shared with us about their experiences. So we love when that happens. So we hope that people can continue to share information about their fair memories after this. So I figure the best place to start here is with the history of the fair. Our fair history actually goes back really far, over 180 years to 1840. The Clark County Agricultural Society had first met to organize an annual exhibit of livestock and produce. And that society, while it only lasted a few years, the idea continued on with some groups. That one disbanded, but in 1853, they decided to organize and have an annual fair. So our first annual fair officially was in 1853, and those fairgrounds were out on Yellow Spring Street, which is now Davey Moore Park. And this is a sketch here showing the original fairgrounds out on where Davey Moore Park is now. This is from the 1875 atlas, which is an absolutely fantastic resource. If you're not familiar with the atlas, it's got lots of great sketches of people and places and things and from that time period. So this is a really great sketch that they have there. And the fair was there from 1853, and it lasted until 1925 at that site. And then as far as we know from research, it disbanded and stopped going because of financial issues at the time. So there wasn't an official fair for a number of years, but there were still 4-H clubs, because 4-H was founded here in 1902 by A.B. Graham in Clark County. So there were still 4-H clubs that would do annual achievement days, but they didn't have a full fair as people had come to know it. But in 1947, the Old City Airport was purchased, and they moved it out there. So I've got a few pictures here that we have of the original fairgrounds showing the original entrance, which is really neat looking building here. And we've got some of the horse track out there. And we have this great article that we ran across about looking. It was from a later paper from the second annual fair in 1854. Clark County was said to have the very first baby contest in the United States. So it was a bunch of people that entered their children, and the winner was Alfreda Ronimus of South Vienna. And this is a great little picture of her here. She was 18 months at the time, so I think this picture is a little bit, maybe a little bit older. But she apparently hadn't initially entered the contest. Somebody had come up to her at the fair, and her family, and said that she needed to be entered. And they said, well, she wasn't properly dressed for it, but they think that maybe her understated attire was what caught the judge's eye, that she was still still the winner. So she won at 10 months old, and the prize was a $300 tea set, which is in the collection of the Ohio History Connection in Columbus. And this is from their Ohio Memory website, where you can look up different artifacts and items in their collection. They have pictures of the entire tea set over there. So I grabbed a picture of that. But the neat story I thought about Alfredo was the way that she got her name was that her father to be had gone into a shop in South Vienna to get a stovepipe hat for his wedding. And the shop owner, sorry, the father to be, the Caleb was the shop owner. He wrote on the inside of the stovepipe hat the name Alfreda and said that that would be the name of his firstborn daughter. So that's what they named the daughter. We ran across this in all your newspapers. This is a picture that we have of the Clark County Fair Board in 1908. I guess, you know, we know a couple of our volunteers over the years that have been part of the Fair Board, and there still is a Fair Board that helps keep it running. So this was it back then with this poor guy here with his head cut out. But this cutout here usually indicates that a picture was used in the newspaper. So that poor guy's probably head was cut out when it was originally ran in the paper as well. We have this, another thing from the early fairgrounds, shows the fairgrounds out on Yellow Springs on a blueprint map. Here you can see it's bounded by Western and Pleasant run around it. But if you drive down, I just drove by it today. I think I was on Pleasant, or I was on Western, and it dead ends into I think the entrance that goes by there now. It's still in the area. And this is a blueprint for 1926. We actually ran across in an unrelated folder in our collection that we didn't realize that it had this in there. So we had taken it out and scanned it. I think it was part of a just some property records having to do with something else. And we're like, oh, there's a fairgrounds map in here. So as I said before, it stopped being held out on Yellow Springs in 1925, and then for a number of years they didn't have one until they purchased the old airport in 1947. And the first fair, I think the first official fair was held out there in 1948. But I noticed that the fair is celebrating their 70th anniversary there, and so I think they might be going by the purchase date, but I'm not sure if maybe there was something that year. But you can see, you know, very clearly in an aerial photo that this was used as an airport. You can still see the runways, and I believe that those were the original. Some of the original hangars were used, but I know over the years they built more, like the buildings that are along the Midway, arts and crafts, and the youth building. And this is a great picture that we have of Brian Sandals, who was originally brought in to run the fair when it was out at the fairgrounds, when it first came to the current fairgrounds. He had been the manager of the Ohio State Fair. So they had hired him to come run it in Clark County. And this is a picture of him helping to promote the fair up there with a sign. And I had always thought that the fair was at the end of July, but we found a lot through the papers in the 40s, 50s, 60s, even in the 70s, that it was in August. So he was promoting the fair a week in August there in 1953 up on the tower at the fairgrounds. This is another thing we have a lot of in our collection. So when the fairgrounds had their were celebrating their 70th anniversary a few years ago, just about every single 4-H club came to the Heritage Center saying, well, the theme is history, so we came to get stuff. And I told them, well, we have very few pictures, and we're sharing tonight the pictures that we do have. But I said, what we do have a lot of, which is not necessarily interesting to look through, is we have premium books from just about every year. So we have a couple of very large boxes of premium books from the fair. So you can flip through and see, you know, what people could be paid for winning cows and pigs and chickens and things like that. So we have, this is this is one that we scanned that actually came out of when the New Sun collection came to us. You see it's stamped, "Return to the New Sun Library." This was a copy that they had in their collection. So we had scanned that one when it came in. But we have tons of different fair premium books. And we still have, that's something that we have more modern ones too. People still bring us the current premium books and we add them to the collection. Sadly, when they had the anniversary out at the fair, we had given everybody, all the 4-H clubs that asked for pictures, we gave them every picture we could find. And then a couple of years after that big anniversary, we found a folder full of photos from the 50s. It showed some really great pictures that they didn't get to use during that anniversary year, but we shared them immediately when we found them a couple of years ago. So these are some of those really great early years of the fair photos that you can see. The Midway there with some of the rides, and well, someone had asked earlier if we had any bumper car pictures. I don't think that's bumper cars. It looks like those ones are just going around there. But this was a pretty good one that showed you know, some of the food stands and different rides. We've got one from 1950, a couple from 1951. See the youth building, still there today. And Ed, I saw you get on. I was hoping that you might have some details about any of the replacement buildings. I know that the Mercantile, the Youth, and the Arts and Crafts buildings have been there pretty much since the fair opened at that site. Is that right?
1951, they were built with money from a tax levy.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, they're still there today. And in fact, I don't know how many roofs have been put on them, but they're putting another new one on the youth building again this year.
Well, that's good. They're keeping them up, and yeah. So they have. I knew because the aerial. I think you missed the aerial photo that we just had up. Showed that they were there, but that was a 1953 photo. So I wasn't. So thanks. I wasn't sure exactly when they had built this building. Of 51. So we've got a couple here from 51 that year. Then that they would have opened, and then this one we've got one from 58 that shows one of the rides. This is for the roundup. They had one of that's the one that spins and sucks you back to the wall. That's always a fun one. I say I put things in chronological order. We've got some more rides later, but I said this would be your point if you guys remember any of your favorite rides. I haven't really been to too many at the Clark County Fair. I went on some with my kids. I imagine that I'll be going this Wednesday on Kids Day when I take my son, because my daughter won't be there. So I'll probably be the one riding with him on some of those rides. But I'm going to tell him I'm not doing this one.
Yeah, I never did that ride.
They have that one they have one like that at Geauga Lake. Where the floor dropped out from under you while you were sucked back to the wall. So you definitely couldn't move. We've got some pictures from 59 here. Anyone recognize which building this is?
That's a youth building.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the youth building. That's
still looks
4-H dues.
Still looks very similar today. You can see everybody's projects and all the different 4-H clubs along the walls.
And the FFA, oh, you went away. Okay.
Oh, no, go ahead.
See the line of lampshades back there?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That was the thing that they, Ohio Edison Company furnished kits to FHA and FFA groups, and they could build a lamp, and they could show it at the fair and then take it home with them. And that's what those are.
Oh, neat. Well, that's good to know. Thanks, Ed. I'll have to put a note on that photo. And I say I'll have to share this one again and see if anybody recognizes their 4-H club names. You can see some. You can see some of the club's names up here. Oh, here's the Union Settlement House back here. You can see one of them. Fireside Sparkers,
I don't know if I'll
see if
stick with it.
anybody might recognize
Yeah.
from that time frame. Imagine that this must be the Arts and Crafts building with all of our flowers and baked
Baked goods.
goods and quilts. Looks very similar to today. And then another one from 59, the Mercantile Building, which looks similar to today, except, you know, probably some of the same businesses even. You can pick any of them out.
See the big fan there, Natalie? You don't have to do that this year at your
Yeah,
display.
that's good. We'll
It's
have
all
air
air
conditioning.
conditioned.
We
Looks
have
like
to
this
do,
what
arts and craft is not air conditioned yet, so we have.
you guys will still have to have the fans. Looks like there's a furniture store booth set up over here. Oh, is that Atherton's? That was a furniture store, wasn't it? I can see
Yeah.
I can see part of the name over here.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. We've
Ohio
got
Edison put on a major display down in the far left-hand corner every year too.
yeah, of products.
Yes, they
And
were promoting
stuff.
appliances and of course wanting you to use electric.
That's really neat. I wish we had a picture from the other side of the building so we could see the other booths as well. I wish we had pictures of every booth that was in here instead of just an above shot. It looks like Springfield must be Furniture Works over here. I can just see part of the word. We got Carmen's back here. Springfield Hearing Service and the arcade.
And Natalie, do you notice if you look down the left side, there's no opening over into what we call the annex now.
Oh, because there was no annex.
There was no annex.
That would have been right about where Atherton's is.
Yeah, your booth this year is going to be right there where Atherton's is.
Yeah.
One you're started today and finished tomorrow.
Yep. So this is a real, I wish we had more of these pictures. We were really excited when we found them. So we're hoping there's more floating around out there. This was one where we just did, we've got a lot of negative collections of negatives.
Okay.
And we had run across these calf scramble from 1960. And we had just put them all up on the scanner and scanned them all at once. So I just put up the raw scan. We didn't cut all these ones apart. But you can see this was another one of the batch that we found when we got some pictures. We had a folder full of calf scramble photos.
Natalie, I
Yeah.
don't want to take up too much time. On the left-hand side, the third frame down, right there, that's Paul Deere.
Oh.
He's the man who, it was his idea and the inception of the calf scramble. He was the founder of Bonded Oil that later became Marathon and then became Emro and so on, is Speedway today.
And Speedway, yeah.
He personally funded all 10 calves, the scholarship awards and everything when it first started.
So did it start in 1960 then? Or did it start?
I'm not sure what year it started, but he always presented, I would say he's presenting the scholarship to last year's winner. You got a $1,000 scholarship, and I think that the picture is probably a ceremonial presentation of that.
Wow.
That is Paul Deere right there.
Well, thanks, Ed. That's a good piece of information that we can put with this photo then. I think we we're working on getting possibly a portrait of him that someone has in their family. They talked about trying to get that to us.
Well,
I just know him.
The connection goes on to the Kuss family. That was from Paul Deere's daughter, Richard Kuss, and so on. So that lineage of people contribute a great deal to the Springfield area.
I'm actually sitting right next to sitting right next to a picture of Mr. Kuss right now. It's in the room next to me. More pictures that we have of rides. The paratroopers ride. This is one that do they have one like this right now? I'll have to check when we go back there this weekend and see if they have one like that. I know they've got the big spinny swings one that you can go on up in the air. See if they have a paratroopers. That's always a fun one too. We've got some of the food booths here, the porkettes.
Yes.
Eileen Cessna.
One of the 4-H. I meant this would have been a 4-H club, but they're looks like they're presenting some food for tasting. This is 1974. And now seeing this picture, we don't have any pictures of some of the food booths that have been out there a long time, like the FFA ones. So Ed, I'm sure you could answer those kinds of questions about like how long the pork and the corn has been a thing out there on that one side of the fair, where you can go get your pork chop and your
The
corn from FFA.
Northeastern began out there in 1981. They were the only one there at that time, and they had a salad bar, which everybody said was ridiculous. Nobody wants to eat salad at the fair, but they did it anyway, and they made a lot of money over the years. Then they switched to ribeye steaks, and they were joined by Greenan about 4 or 5 years later. And then just a year or two after that, Northwestern came along. Greenan was selling, it still is, corn on the cob, and then Northwestern came with the baked potatoes. So that started in 81, and it's kind of grown. I don't know when the other two groups joined them.
Well, that's good to know too. Those are my favorite things to go. I head out to those booths first thing whenever we go there. That's where I'll be going at the end of the week.
Oh, look at that.
The Clark County Fair Queen still goes on today. These are the candidates from 1977 here. Miss Clark County Fair 1976 out front.
Don't recognize anybody.
Well, I recognize Mary Payne, Lane Horton.
Did they not have that? Did they not have it last year? I know that they had limited things out there and limited showings, so I think they probably didn't have the.
They did have it, yes.
Oh, they did.
It was not
Okay.
a public thing. And the young lady who represented Clark County went on to compete in the regional and then in the state. And she just in the last, about 2 weeks ago, was crowned the Ohio State
Really?
Fair Queen.
So the one from,
She's from
Honey.
Southeastern High School.
that's pretty awesome. I wonder, did they do that? Did they end up doing some of that virtually?
I honestly don't know. I don't know how they conducted it. I just know that she went on and through the competition levels and was named the Ohio State Fair Queen.
That's great. Well, before I keep going forward chronologically, there's a note here in the chat from Barbara Matthews. She said around 1954, her Girl Scout troop ran a child care tent during the fair under the leadership of the Toes sisters and watched the kids in shifts all day, and they stayed overnight in sleeping bags all week. And that's something that we ran across in the newspapers, and that's something I wish we had. We do have some newspaper clippings here, but every year if you go through the paper, and we have them all on microfilm, you find coverage of the fair, all in all of the weeks leading up to and during the fair time. And I always remember running across the thing about the Girl Scout babysitting area and wondering, I wonder when that stopped. And I talked to Barbara a little bit about that before, that she had worked there in the 50s.
It went on through the 80s, early 80s. Virginia Pendleton was the lady who spearheaded that every year. It was located beside what is now the Electricians Building, which at the time was the Clark County Historical Society's building. And they stored equipment there, or artifacts there, and had equipment out behind it.
Was that the same building that we had later, or was that a different building?
That's the one you had, the only one you had out there.
The only one we had. Okay. We have a couple pictures of that later in here.
It was right
too.
beside it, and they had a slide and different things to entertain the kids.
It was all fenced in.
It was all fenced. Yeah, the kids couldn't get out.
I think I remember there was a building there until recently. wonder-
Yeah, yes.
That was next to the Historical Society's building. So that must have been the same one. So here's the pictures of the Historical Society's building. These are from the paper in 1976. We've got George Burkhofer, who's the curator at the time, standing beside our hearse that we have in the museum now. So that was the time, especially when, so this was when we still, you know, some of our larger items were out here, but we still were in Memorial Hall. But when Memorial Hall closed, the fair was really the only time that people had during the year that they could come out and see some of the artifacts and things like that out at the fair building there. And Ed, you probably know the exact date, but I had heard that it was about mid-70s that the building was built for the Historical Society out there. And
Yeah, and it's now the electrician's building.
so yeah, we moved out of there about 5 or 6 years ago. Got some more pictures from the 70s. This was one of the acts that was going to be there that year, the Hannaford Family Circus, which when we ran across this one, I remembered that we had a poster of Toodles Hannaford and his family circus in our collection. So I pulled that out and looked up a little bit about the history of the Hannaford circus. It was started with Toodles Hannaford. He was a great trick rider, considered the greatest in history. He was the first to perform a somersault from one running horse to another. And he held the Guinness World Record for performing a running jump onto a horse and stepping off 26 times in a row. And he appeared in over 40 films. He retired in 54 and died in 67. So he wouldn't have been part of this 70s act that came to town. But the Hannaford Family Circus stayed together. He was in the International Circus Hall of Fame in the 60s, but that was a neat story. Someone that I hadn't heard of, but I don't know if any of you remember seeing them out there at the fairgrounds in the 70s. Would have been a fun thing to see. This is one of the another resource we have. I mentioned, we could go through all the microfilm and get everything we could want from every single year if we wanted to go on forever. But this was some of the stuff we had in our clippings files from the News Sun. Was full special sections on the fair and advertising what was going to be going on that week. So this was the 77 fair. And some pictures from the fair that ran. We've got the golden anniversary luncheon that was always a Elderly United, now United Senior Services event. I believe United Senior Services is still running that. I know it's a little bit different this year. I was talking to some of our golden wedding party volunteers asking about that. They said it's going to be a drive-through this year. That's always a nice thing that they do for couples that have been married for over 50 years, and they always honor the longest married couple. So this was 77, and we've got some potato sack races, which is, I'm pretty sure, not something that they've done, at least in the last 10 years that I've seen at the fair. So that's a fun thing. Back at 77. Some activities from the 78 fair. Nashville star, New Carlisle's own Margot Smith was performing. Bob, I think, Bob Holsize around here donated us a record of hers. We got Hannaford's Family Circus came back, and Herman the Magician, beloved local magician, was performing that year. I think we've got him in a later slide here. This was the map that they had in the 1978 fair special section. Just like still looks pretty similar to today. All of the main layout is the same, and I think all the cattle barns, or all the animal barns, are pretty much in the same configurations.
Yeah.
Here we got 79 fair. I love they've all got giant things that they've won. from the games that they're all holding. This is a really nice picture that showed the Midway too behind everybody. And this is one that you don't see at fairs anymore. The oddities tents. I don't think that's something that they would have anymore out at the fair. But I know when we shared this one online, a lot of people remember going to see the Monkey Girl and different things. This was the setup out there. And then these are the swings. I do love the swings. Although I have not tried, I do love the swings. I haven't done them at the fair though. Maybe this year we'll have to go. And here we've got Herman Carr and his wife, Marcia, doing their act with the fair queen that year was gonna lose her head. And then here's another, this was an undated picture, and I was trying to figure this out. I am terrible at dating cars, but what are these cars here to help us date this one? It's gotta be about the 70s.
What is it?
But these cars that are in front here, I looked at them and
that's a Ford on the left.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what's on the right.
But do you have an idea of year?
Well, that's in the late. That Ford looks like a 49, 50, 51, something like that.
Okay, because I looked at it and I was like, that looks like a really old car, but I see our barn in the background. The Historical Society is one in the background. So either they had another spot, or that somebody just had an old car out at the fair. That must have been it.
Pictures flipped.
Yeah, Natalie.
The picture is flipped. Yeah.
Natalie, I think that picture is flipped.
Yeah. But
that
still.
The tent you see there is, I think, the Girl Scout tent. And
okay. So someone had just had brought an older car out to the fair. That's what threw me off, because usually that's how I figure out pictures, as I look at the cars. Those cars are way too old. I'm thinking, so yeah, we'll have to. This must have been a negative. We'll have to see where the original was of that one. See if we can go back into Photoshop and
that's
flip
the
that
Girl
one.
Scout tent over there, where they had the cots for the kids to lay on and so on. That tent.
Barbara, are you still here? Is that how the tent you remember?
It looks a lot like it. It had sides like that, and a roof was very tall.
The car on the right, the grill looks like a 53 Chevy Bel Air.
That's what I was thinking. It was a Chevy front.
Did they do car shows out at the fair? Would people have brought out older cars to show?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's some more later pictures. It's 91 out at the Historical Society's building, and I love this one because I recognize everything in here as being in the museum now. Or Kelly truck, the hearse, the Coles dairy wagon. Although I think that car is not ours. That looks like is that an International Harvester car? We do not have that one, but you can see the Crable wagon in the back in the corner here. And they were selling corn and hand beans and cornbread over there. We've got Virginia here and Floyd Barman. And I didn't know the other people in this picture, but there might be other people of the Historical Society that know who the other people in this picture are.
Natalie?
Yeah.
The car down in the bottom, that's an International Harvester high wheeler chain drive truck.
Okay.
I don't know. It's not in your collection today.
It's
I don't know.
Definitely not. It must have been something that somebody had brought just to show at the fair and had it in our
I'm going to take a moment for a commercial message.
Mhm.
The International Harvester Collectors of Ohio are hosting the National International Harvester Collector Show next June. And there will be not only a high wheeler truck, most people do not know that International Harvester made a car for only 1 or 2 years. And it was called the Brass Car because it had so much brass on it. And there will be a brass car, a restored brass car at that event next in June of 22 here at the Clark County Fairgrounds.
Oh, wow. I'd say, well, while you're plugging that, Ed, we got to make sure we tell people to go. We'll have a booth inside the Mercantile building, but there's also going to a tent outside that Ed has worked very hard to get lots of antique tractors out there to show. So hope people stop out there and visit that as well. There's all sorts of great stuff out there too. Good opportunity to show a lot of neat old things. Some more moving forward in time. We've got Phil Dirt and the Dozers. Been around for a long time, still around. They're actually doing a show out at the park. The last show for the Summer Arts Festival. I think this Saturday is going to be Phil Dirt and the Dozers. So here they are, 1994. And this was Charlie Daniels there in 1994. And we've got some more. We have a folder full of, I wish we had more pictures, but we have one folder full of pictures from 1994 showing a whole bunch of kids with their animals. I really wish we had more years of this, but if someone's looking for 1994, we can help them. We have some pictures. So you see here, we got the calf scramble shirts.
Yeah.
They're wearing.
Lives at our house.
And then they do they still do harness racing? Or have they done it?
They stopped that in about late 1980s or early 1990s.
Okay, we have this labeled as 94.
Okay.
That was in that 94 pack.
Okay.
Barbara said that she remembers her dad teaching her to drive his 1954 Chevy around the old runways out at the fairgrounds. So that'd be a good spot to do that too. And out at the tracks, if you wanted to feel like you were a race car driver. Another one from 94. This isn't the,
Yeah.
Those are sheep, aren't they?
Yeah.
Did they do a sheep
Well, it's
scramble?
no. This
They're
is
just-
a regular
they're just-
show.
This is just showing, okay.
Yeah. The young man that's leaning over with a striped shirt on the left side, that's Jay Woodworth. His father was Roger Woodworth, the athletic director, and he was principal at Northeastern.
His sister's
His-
a teacher.
His sister is a teacher at Springfield City Schools now. But that Woodworth family showed a lot of sheep, and that's one of them there.
Have to go back and label this one too. The whole folder full of unlabeled photos. What we really need to do is put them all up online and just let everybody
Yeah.
tell us who everybody is. They did this. I shared a couple of these the other day we had these up on Facebook and people were helping identify some of the people in them. So I think we just need to put them all up. Another one from 94. These were the Fair Queen candidates.
Andrea Runyon.
I want to say, and they've got a map of the fairgrounds behind them. This is another thing we have in our collection, 1996 poster for the fair. Phil Dirt and the Dozers were performing again, and harness racing. Oh, so harness racing was still going on in 96 on this poster, if the poster's right.
Yeah.
And then this was some pictures that I grabbed back in 2017 because I figured after I gave all those 4-H clubs all those historic photos, I should go look for them and see all of their booths. So we went to look at all of the booths, and I tried to get pictures of everybody of all of the different 70th anniversary stuff that they did in 2017. They all did a great job. And then I think the following year was also history related, whatever the theme was, because I had a whole bunch more come back and say, do you have anything else? I said, I've given you everything we have. Just use it again. So this was a fun one. Oh, here we've got something in the chat about harness races. Jamie said that her grandfather, Harry England, helped run the harness races in the early 90s and on the senior fair bowl. You know, there was still going, they still have a track out there, don't they? So that's something that maybe, no, the track is gone?
Yes.
Oh.
The grandstands are still there.
I thought that, okay. I thought the track was still next to the.
But the rest of it is all parking lot now.
Oh, okay. This was a, I think I went out to the fair and saw that same ride was going to be there. So I quickly sent it to the paper and I was like, okay, send Bill out there now and see if he can get this picture because we can run it this week. So that was a neat matchup because it's the exact same ride. And then down here we've got a similar ride in 2018. I have to say, if that one's there tomorrow or this week, I don't think I'm going to ride this one either. It doesn't look.
Natalie, is that date correct on that picture?
Well, this side is
1840?
Oh no, I don't write the copy at top. If you have to read this caption is actually from 1958. This side, the left side, the right side is 17, and then this one is 62. But yeah, the copy makes it sound like I'm saying that's 1840, but sometimes the copy that they put above the pictures confuses even me when it comes out in the paper. I'm like, oh, I hope people don't think that picture is 1840. But this is us at the fair in 2019. We got to take out the Kuss family had donated the Model A. And we were able to take that out and have that at our booth when we were in the annex. And John Stokes isn't on this call, but he's probably the only guy. Well, I'm sure there's other people out there that can ride it. He was the only person on our staff that could drive that thing. He drove us all around in it. So I have a little video to share with you of what it's like to ride in the Model A. Oh wait. Just a second. Let me start that over. I don't think I was sharing stuff.
Hi, John.
It's a library.
So this is another thing that if you come out to the fair that you'll get to see. We're highlighting a few artifacts out there this year. The ticket machine that we got in 2019, about the same time that we got the Model A, and it was hand built by John Wilson Thomas in 1934 and Harry Van Pelt, who had worked at his print shop. And Harry Van Pelt later bought the machine and used it for his own print shop. And what we have here is a selection of all the different tickets that he did for all sorts of events and in Clark County and for all the different schools and going up to Urbana and all the way. We got some tickets here from Bell Fountain. So he printed tickets for all over the place. And Harry just passed away recently, but he had donated it, and we were able to go get it up out of his basement with the help of Wagner Moving, who helped us move it out to the fairgrounds this morning. So you can go see it out there with some of the original tickets still in there, and the tickets are set up here to print. So go check that out. Still has wet ink in it, so we could get it running. We could still run it. They said that it was working recently. I would be too afraid to try and run it. We'll have it open so people can see the inner workings of the tickets being printed. So that's one of the things that you'll be able to see out there week at the fair. And then this is a current aerial of the fair taken from I grabbed it from the Clark County Fair's Facebook page. I figured this is probably one of the most recent things that they have. It's a great picture. And then all the food places that I know I'm going to try and get to next week, along with, get my pork chop and everything. Probably take my son over to the slide here. And then this was, I think I'm going to go ahead and probably mute this one and jump around. But this was, I think this guy is a trucker who goes around the country, and
I'm trying to
does drone footage of different places that he visits across the country. So he happened to be staying in Clark County, so he took his drone over and went over the fair. So this is a 12-minute video, just showing him flying around above the fair. And I thought it was a really great video of the. It looks like we're after some rain, so it's not too crowded. And this was 2019, and I think I remember those downpours that we had here. So you can see a lot of the rides, and I think this is probably very much what it's going to look like the next week down the Midway. But I'd seen a couple other videos of on YouTube of people talking about the Clark County Fair, and there was someone that walked around the fair and talked about it, and they said that they'd been to a lot of different county fairs and even some state fairs, and that Clark County's fair is really large even compared to some of those fairs. So I think maybe people in Clark County don't realize what a big fair that they have. I thought this was a really neat view. And this isn't as a historian. I thought, oh, this is really neat to have. I downloaded it so that we have a copy on our server, so that 10, 20 years from now, people can say, oh, I'd like to see what the county fair looks like. Oh, I have a copy of the video to show you. So we've got our different animal barns all in here too, and I think people would. I wish the drones were something, we had some videos like this, 10, 20 years ago, so we could go back and look at views like this and compare them. But it'll be neat to have things like this to compare over the years if people do other videos like this. And all the people that stay out there all week long, God bless them, with their animals and everything. Couldn't imagine. But then I am not a 4-H person or an FFA person, but my daughter is going to Gießen next year, so she will be automatically an FFA person. So we may be out at the fair more often and do more things at the fair that I never imagined that we would be doing. So glad that we have it, and it's got a long history. So
That's cool.
I'll go ahead and stop this one. But if you guys want to look it up, if you just Google Clark County Fair on YouTube, there was several that came up, but this one I thought was pretty neat. It'll be open Friday to Friday, and admission is just $6 for everybody, but kids are free on Wednesday, which is when I will be there with my son, and they have half price wristbands for kids. So that's when we'll be going to do the rides. But I know that actually that does not sound appealing because there'll probably be a million people there. Maybe we'll have to go earlier in the day. I know I'm working the early shift at our fair booth, so maybe we'll do some rides after that. Oops, I think, oh, there we go. Our last slide here is, if you're not following us on social media, these are our different places where you can follow us. If you hold your phone over the little QR code in the corner, that'll take you to a link for all of them. But for the past week, we've been sharing different pictures and stuff, mostly on Facebook, asking people about their fair memories. There's always the link to donate if you want to give directly to support us monetarily, but we also take donations of things, especially if you have fair related things. We would love to see some of that. Patty, I can see you right now on my screen. You brought us some 4-H stuff and you said you must have things like this. You were the first person from a 4-H that brought stuff from a 4-H club to us. We did not have anything like that. So that's something that we have not gotten from people over the years. So we're happy to get that kind of stuff. But I want to thank you guys.
It's 4-H kind of things that the Historical Society would be interested in.
We would. So like, for example, I think Patty brought us some of like her club's projects and booklets and stuff that they had in the group that she was in. So we would be interested in stuff like that.
Okay, because our son is finishing his final year of 4-H, so I know I have like fair booth pictures from their clubs for the last 10 years and that kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah, that would be great. And well, people always ask, how are we going to have history of this time right now? Because nobody prints pictures anymore. Nobody keeps all that stuff. And I say, you'll just have to keep that stuff and you'll have to print pictures. So we do have stuff. So yes, we're always happy to take those kinds of things. We do take digital stuff now too. We're still working on how to like maintain all of that as stuff is increasingly more digital, but we want to make sure that we're still collecting things happening today too. So I know when I go to the fair, I go by every booth that has stuff to give out and I pick it up and I take it back. And if Virginia Warren is still on this call, I give it to Virginia the week after the fair and I say, help me put the stuff away so that 50 years from now, if someone comes to look for something from an organization that existed in Clark County, we have the stuff they were giving out at the 2021 county fair. So that kind of stuff. So we can continue to keep this this history.
Hey, Natalie.
Yeah.
I have a little bit tidbit to add to this. Back in the 80s and 90s, I think maybe in the early 2000s, I was with a group called the Exchange Club. And we sponsored a day out there where we had kids come out and we had games for them in that old racetrack out there where you showed the horse racing. And they gave them kind of awards where they had an egg on a spoon and then they ran around and drop it off or something. They won a prize. And there was this something every year I went to for a while. And it was a lot of fun.
I think they still are they the ones that sponsor Kids Day?
Yes.
Yeah, they were. They are. I don't know if they're still sponsoring or not, but I can find out. I know a guy by the name of Larry Sewell, who's was a member back then. He's still a friend of mine and ushers with me at St. Teresa, and I could ask him about it.
Yeah. I think that are they? Is that Ed? Are they the reason that kids are free on Wednesdays? They must cover that. Yeah.
And back in the day, every county and city school kid got a free ticket in their final report card. And Harry Van Pelt printed them. And you always got a free ticket for Wednesday.
Well, the city school still did that just a few years ago.
Yeah, they did, because we did have some of those. We have some of Harry Van Pelt's fair tickets. We talked about that today, Ed. Yeah. I'm gonna try. Casey and I, maybe we can try and find those and either get them reproduced or get them out there with the printing press so people can see those.
Natalie, can I share one quick story with everybody?
Go ahead.
In 1980, there was a lot of controversy, and there was the lady that was managing the fair, and there was great controversy, and they parted ways with the fair board, and she was on a 3-year contract, and they had to pay her for 2 more years, and they were broke. And so they were desperate for somebody, and I was volunteered. I was the fair manager for 2 years, and we were broke. So we decided, well, we tried bringing in some entertainment. So we talked to an agent, and they said, well, we've got some up and comers. You can get them for next to nothing, but we think, you know, some of them will make it big. And in 1981, we had an up and comer named Garth Brooks.
I remember that.
We probably paid him less that year than a front row seat cost for his concerts now.
Oh my goodness.
And we had another one named Reba McEntire who came, and another one named Louise Mandrell in those 2 years that I was associated with it. But we had some other ones that we never heard of again. But we did have those, and Garth Brooks was the one that we'll always remember, that he was like his first or second year of even touring.
That's amazing. I did not know that story. Well, the story that I heard was a similar situation with an up and coming band in 1989 that they didn't have to pay very much. But I've also heard stories that that band caused quite a uproar, and there was lots of fainting when New Kids on the Block came here.
They cleared out the youth building, and it became a triage center for the medics.
Oh my goodness.
So hot. We had the fire department up on a crane spraying water on the crowd to cool them off. They counted hours before the show in very high temperatures.
And well, the other story that I heard, I think maybe from my husband, if he's still on here, he said that they didn't have to pay him very much because it was still like early in their career, but then they were not happy that they didn't get paid very much because they had hit it big by the time they came to
we usually signed them a year or two before they came, and some of them took off and other ones didn't.
So I remember running across that article about New Kids on the Block here a couple of years ago when I was doing fair research, and thinking, oh man, I would have loved to have been there. Oh, and I forgot, I was going to find some of my New Kids on the Block posters to share on a slide here, but
I'll see if my nieces still have their pictures from them at the fair.
Man, Marianne, if you have those, I would love to see those.
I'll see if they have them.
That would be amazing.
Natalie?
Yeah.
Back in, it must have been about 1974, I was a member of the Springfield South High School Adult Boosters, and they were closing O'Brien's Tavern, and Peachhead Acton offered us all of his equipment for his carryout stuff. And so we bought all of his equipment, and for about, I would say 10 or 12 years, we set up a food booth up in the Mercantile building between the 2 back doors. And we had that for, 10 or 12 years.
I think you had longer than that. You were still
there. That could
there
be.
What did you guys, what did they sell? What did they sell out there?
Oh, we had hot dogs and soft drinks and popcorn and, anything, candy bars, anything we could make a dime on.
I say that's the area now that's across from where the sheriff's department usually is set up.
Yeah. Sheriff's department faced them. It's where the permanent restaurant is now. J&J Restaurant has a permanent.
And one thing about what Ed was saying, the fair didn't make any money. Well, I have one idea. All the years that we were set up in that Mercantile, Carolyn never asked us one time for a financial report. And we were supposed to give, I think, maybe 10% to the fair, and not one time did we ever get asked for a financial report. That backs up what Ed said.
Well, I say another place that I forgot that I could have pulled from to include some pictures here was when Highlands closed. When the church closed as well, they gave us their whole collection, and I forgot that it had a bunch of pictures of their their food area in
Yeah,
there,
probably.
their building.
That was
So
disabled.
I forgot, that was something that, well, I could have gone and scanned pictures. So maybe in the future we'll get some of their pictures.
You'd have to check with Ed because he can tell you they were there for what? They had 25 years, 30?
More than
I think more than 30 years, because I
More
remember
than
when
30.
that.
when they closed, it was definitely over 30 that they were talking
They
about.
just closed in 2018.
2018.
They had good food, but now that area is a open shelter.
CTC,
So
CTC food service.
yeah, I think we went a couple of years ago, and I got some, like, the best prime rib little thing that I've ever eaten before was from over in that area. I was like, well, I missed Highlands, but this is really good too. Oh, we got Jamie says that other acts that have been there have been Kenny Chesney, Tanya Tucker, Charlie Daniels Band, John Michael Montgomery.
Mhm.
So some big acts have been out there. Trace Adkins, Jerry Clower, Brad Paisley, Mark Wills.
And one of them that had kind of a cult following was Boxcar Willie. Was it Boxcar Willie? And he was quite a character.
Oh, yes, he was.
He went on, he had his own, whatever you call it, in Branson before he passed away. He stopped touring the road and had a theater in Branson where Boxcar Willie.
John
I didn't look and see if they had any big entertainment this year. We'll have to
No, they
that
don't.
Nothing big. Probably not the time for it, but maybe in the future we'll have some more big acts out there that we see. Beth said that Highlands was there when she was a kid, and she's 65. So maybe they were over 50 some years. I'm trying to remember. We have an article about when they closed, so I'd have to go back and look at that. Mindy said she's got pictures of a lot of the acts. I know I saw the Led Zeppelin cover band there a few years ago, Zoso. They were fantastic. But I don't think I've seen any real bands there myself.
Well, be sure to invite everybody to the Heritage Center display.
Yeah.
And in the tent of the tractors. If you'll come, you'll see them start a tractor by putting a 12-gauge shotgun shell in the side of the motor and hitting it with a hammer, and it'll start the tractor. Live performances 2, 4, and 6 on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and big screen, touch screen, on-demand video of it anytime you come.
We'll be out there tomorrow to get that, right, Ed?
Yeah, he's coming in tomorrow. Natalie and Sydney are making the video tomorrow.
Oh yeah, so we'll have that at the booth for people to, if they missed the demonstration, they'll be able to watch it still. Well, I hope you guys make it out to the fair. I know that some of you guys are volunteers that are going to be out at our booth, so we thank you for being out there. And we hope you guys make it out there and get some good food. I'm gonna get my corn and pork chops, probably a funnel cake. And thank you, Christy. Get some 4-H photos to us. We'll look forward to getting those. Anything we can fill in gaps in our collection. We love to collect. So thank you guys for coming, and hope you guys have good night, good rest of the week.
Thank you.
Go out to the fair.
Yeah.
Bye.
Well, Natalie, I'll look forward to seeing you Friday in that article.
All right, yeah, I'll get that printed for you,
I
Bob.
know
We got to print that article of Dick that you found.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll give him a copy.
13 years old.
Yeah, we'll go back and get that. So, all right, you guys have a good night. Bye.
Bye-bye.